Hi everyone, welcome. I'm really glad you're here today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Mine's been going really well. In a previous video, you saw me make some salt bars, and I used this wonderful little, the brand is Milky Way, goat mold. And these are great molds for, I suppose, for melt and pour, or even some cold process, though it does take a little bit of work. Some people put them in the freezer, some people, there are various different things you can do, but I find them a lot of work. I love the design on them. I think they're just fantastic, but they're a bit of work to get the soap out, at least for me. So I decided, as I mentioned in another video, that I'm going to make silicone molds using this as my design. So let me sort of go through the process with you. So the product I'm going to be using is this 2-part silicone that I got from Brick in the Yard Mold Supply. They're in Richardson, Texas, which is about an hour or so from here. So I just drove over there and picked this up, saved myself a lot of money in shipping. And they're a really great little company. They gave me a lot of advice and tips on how to measure, on just all the steps along the way. And plus, they have tons of videos on YouTube on the exact process, which of course I will link to in the description. They are not, what's the word? They're not supporting this channel in any way. They don't even know I'm doing this, so they don't even know what my channel is. So I in no way profit off this or anything. I just wanted to share this with you. In addition, I purchased, this is just a release spray. It's basically, as described to me, Vaseline in a can. And it just makes the new silicone easier to separate from the item that you're going to be creating the mold from. So now let's move on to the next step. So you probably get these political signs certain times of the year. I do too. They're corrugated plastic. And why throw these away, right? They leave them out, and then when the elections are over, they just leave them. So I decided to make use of them, as many others have done for various purposes. Some people make soap molds out of these. Now you do want to clean the ink off of these, which is actually very easy. A little scrubby and some soap and you can get that off. For the purpose I'm doing today, that's not even necessary. But if you're going to use these in a soap mold, I would certainly remove the ink from them. I have cleaned these with bleach, so they're cleaner than they look. I then trimmed it and created a box around my mold. It's not very even, but that's just me. I'm not that neat. Who cares? This does not have to be perfect. And then I hot glued all around the edges of it to seal it. So my next step is to shake up the release. You may be noticing this is my Brambleberry slab mold that I'm using as my frame to hold it all in. Okay, so I've now weighed out 1.5 pounds of my A and 1.5 pounds of my B. I'm going to combine them now and mix them very well. And this has a 20-minute work time, so I'm not in a big hurry here. Getting the majority of it. There we go. So I'm just going to stir it. I'm not going to whisk it very hard because we don't want any air bubbles. And I will be honest with you, this is expensive. Let's see, I figure with as much as it's going to take here, if it takes as much as I believe it's going to, this will be about cost me about $30 to make this mold. But I can't buy it anywhere. There's no one selling these silicone molds like I want, and I want this very mold. So this is what I have to do. This would of course make it prohibitive to make these and sell them. Nobody's going to pay $30 or $40, you know, for this. But there is a company, I can't remember what the name of it is. There's a silicone mold company out there. I know it starts with Van, V-A-N. If I remember the name, I'll put it on the screen for you. But they do have some rather pricey molds, but I understand why. It's the raw product, where the cost is involved. There's a lot of prep time, you know, putting this all together, but the more you do it, the better you understand it. And I may have over-calculated or under-calculated because the odd shape of this mold, it's a little trickier, and because I'm doing the outside, I could have poured a resin inside the mold, let that cured, and then had that resin to pour the silicone over. That would have been my positive and created a negative that way. But I decided to just turn it upside down. Now by turning it upside down, there may not be as much detail as there would be otherwise, but I'm okay with that for this purpose. All right, so I believe we are well blended now. So get the mold in place here. I've got 2 rubber bands on here. Because this is hollow, it is likely to float up when a liquid is poured over it. So these rubber bands are just hopefully to help keep it in place. We'll see how that works out, won't we? All right, so here we go. Good, so far I don't see any leaks on the sides. That is of course always a concern. Okay, they're completely covered. Alright, get the rubber bands off. This may be a little tricky. I don't know how bad it's stuck to the... Oh, it hasn't. Good, good. Okay. Okay, it bled underneath a little bit there. Okay. Okay, so need this cardboard. Okay. All right, so got the box off. And now to pull out the mold. And there we have it. Look at that. We have our silicone mold. Isn't that awesome? Oh, that looks great. I'm so happy with that.